This boy's genius is unparalleled. I need someone.
From an Oscar nomination for Good Will Hunting to the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival with Elephant. He's a director who's divided critics from the start. When he remade Hitchcock's Psycho frame for frame, they called him obsessive. As he ping-ponged from independent circles to the mainstream and back, some said he'd sold out. He's in Paris as the Cinémathèque hosts a retrospective on him, showing his Polaroids of famous faces and his artwork.
Yeah, look.
Gus Van Sant, hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
The Cinémathèque describes you as anti-conformist, radical and daring. Is that how you see yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm definitely anti-conformist, iconoclastic, daring. I think that just goes along with iconoclastic. I don't know about radical. I don't think I'm radical. Sometimes.
In many of your paintings and Polaroids, we see the subject of youth, especially young men, which reflects your cinema. Talk to us about this attraction to youth.
I think it's just a period of time where you're the most beautiful and you're the most, like maybe resilient and the most changeable and the most, I guess, in need of information that maybe I keep like centering on, like in different ways.
What about today's youth of 2016? Is that something that interests you?
I think they're partly interesting because they're quite accessible because there are many of them. They're not as mysterious as maybe the Generation X. Generation X was a little angrier and more defiant and in need of, I think, pushing themselves, whereas the millennials just take everything very easy, it seems to me. They somehow, I don't know, maybe the information age has brought about a certain homogeneousness that they seem to know all the music that I grew up with, and they're somehow growing up with the same music. And it's very mysterious, that side of it, how much they know. So they're, to me, a really hopeful, intelligent, and well-informed generation.
Your characters are young, but they're also tired. They seem very tired of life, even in their 20s. At that stage in your life, in your 20s, you moved to LA. Is that how you felt at the time?
I'm probably, like, you know, inspired by my own place in at that period of time in life. Yeah, I've always been tired.
He's still tired?
I'm tired. I'm tired now, for sure. Yeah, I remember when I was becoming an adolescent at 14, being very tired, and I don't know what it was. I think it was just the weight of, like, I guess, the whole world or life or something that made you just feel tired.
It was in your 30s, in 1985, that you made your first film. How do you remember the time before that, living in New York, preparing for it?
I was trying to save money to make Malanoche. So I was living at my parents' house, and I was drawing the storyboards for the movie, and I was writing the script for the movie, but I wasn't going to see Madonna sing at Danceteria, and I wasn't going to the Mud Club, and I wasn't, you know, part of the New York scene, even though I was working in New York City in advertising. Yeah, I do miss the monk-like existence that I had.
And it's not just your stories that are centred around youth. You've also worked with young screenwriters like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Tell us about how you got together with them for Good Will Hunting, because it was their first script, wasn't it?
I had read their script and I liked it. I knew them because when we were casting To Die For, which was the movie just before Good Will Hunting, Matt had tried out for the character of Jimmy, who Joaquin Phoenix had played. And there were a number of, like, meetings with him because he was trying to, like, show us how he could become young. He was 20, maybe 25 or 24. He was older than the 16-year-old that Jimmy was supposed to be. He was also a little bit like all-American looking. And that's the same period of time that their script had been bought by Castle Rock. And Matt didn't give me the script. It didn't occur to me to ask to read it because I assumed it was like an action adventure or something like that. I wasn't curious, really, what they had written. And I cast Casey Affleck under Matt's suggestion. He sent Casey Affleck in to try out for To Die For, and Casey was in the movie. And Ben came to visit while we were shooting To Die For, so I had met Ben. And it wasn't until later, I was in New York, and a friend of mine who was at Miramax gave me the screenplay for Good Will Hunting, which was Matt and Ben's screenplay. So I read like half of it, and I was already calling them just to say like it was a great job, because I thought it was a really good screenplay. And I added, like if you need a director, I will direct it. And they thought that was really great, and I think they were supportive of me being a director, but there was a long process, almost a year-long process of people being offered the screenplay and rejecting it and being offered it again. And it was kind of a revolving door of directors before I got to do it.
You can do anything you want. You are bound by nothing.
And you're sitting on a winning lottery ticket. I'd do anything to have what you got.
And some never know how much they can have.
I love you.
Until they discover how much they can give.
Straight after Good Will Hunting in '97, you could have done anything, but you decided to make a remake of Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Tell us about that. Why did you want to do that?
Psycho was partly a response to the desire that Hollywood had to do remakes. Like they were kind of obsessed, and still are kind of obsessed with remakes.
So was it a bit of a joke?
It was a bit of a joke, but it also was something that I thought was possible, that it could work. This idea of like reproducing a movie shot by shot. I thought that perhaps it could give them what they wanted, which was making a movie, an original movie, without having to make an original movie. They wanted an original movie badly, but it was too risky. It was easier to make a sequel to an already successful movie. And here was an idea where you just pick a successful movie and just copy it, and then you would have what you wanted, which is, is something that I was assuming, if it had worked, that Hollywood would make more of them. But the only way that it could work or not work was how much money it made. And Psycho didn't make enough money to make Hollywood really catch on, so it was only done once.
And one of your biggest successes was Milk in 2008, where you told the story of California's first openly gay elected official. How did you go about recreating that character?
Harvey was known very well in the gay community. He wasn't necessarily known any longer. By the time we made the movie, even the younger gay community had forgotten Harvey, even though it had only been, it had been almost 30 years. So it was I think, a way to revive, Harvey's existence.
And I'm here to recruit you!
If homosexuals are allowed their civil rights, then so would prostitutes or thieves or anyone else.
We need one of our own in office.
You'll be the first openly gay man elected to major office.
Society can't exist without the family.
We're not against that.
Can two men reproduce?
No, but God knows we keep trying.
Following in the vein of Milk, you're working on a mini-series with the same team. It's called When We Rise. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's When We Rise is a 8-hour and 8-part miniseries to be aired by ABC in the States, and it's written by Dustin Lance Black, who wrote Milk, and it's following 3 young activists from 1972 until today. So it spans the 40-year period of their activism from 72. And their interactions, how they start off separately, but then they begin to work together in San Francisco, spanning the decades, and each decade presenting new challenges and new victories through the 8 hours. It's a very amazing screenplay.
Throughout your career, you've had very different critical and commercial responses to your films. Your latest film, The Sea of Trees, wasn't much liked by the critics. Do you care?
It can be good. I mean, there's sometimes they're giving you a hard time because it's maybe too commercial, I guess, if that's the right term. It might be too accessible in a situation or a festival that they're looking for changes, they're looking for newer concepts. So it doesn't necessarily shut you down. It can encourage you.
Hello! There is no one. And what was that?
Tamashi.
What's Tamashi? Tamashi are spirits. They are souls.
Wandering these woods until it is their time. Things are not what they seem here.
It's probably just an animal. There are very few animals in Aokigahara. Well, then it was one of the few.
This place is what you call purgatory.
So why do you think they didn't like it?
Possibly it was too, maybe straight at, it was too ordinary of a telling of a story as opposed to something maybe more surprising or original.
Gus Van Sant, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, look.
What's a game of chance to you, him is one of real skill. So glad to meet